Hello, everybody. Dawn Janice here and Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett. We are the two facilitators of this podcast, Lightweavings Podcast. And we are here to answer that question: what has dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? So today, Wendy and I have been discussing our week and our long weekend over Labor Day. And one of the things that came up for me is this realization that nothing dies in vain. Huh, Wendy?
Yes, when you proposed that idea, it gave a lot of food for thought, and you shared with me some really beautiful insights. And I would like to invite you now to share with our listeners and our viewers what you shared with me before we started, if you would please.
Sure. I mean, death, death sounds like such a just such a really low vibe, like such a bummer thing. And of course it is, especially when it's somebody that you're really close to. But it can also be like a business that didn't work out. It can be oh, the produce, went bad in the refrigerator, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't die in vain as long as you compost it. So that's the concept here. And what I was speaking about earlier and what brought this concept up was I'm writing a book, as you're well aware of, Wendy.
Mhm.
And what inspired the book was after my son passed away from a brain tumor. I got a divine download in the shower about how I was grieving and what came up for me during that time. And it's a concept that I've never heard of before, that just was like, it just popped into my head. And now I'm writing my memoirs and book about the concept, and it's a thought leadership book. And so that's what I was talking about with my cousin and amazing soul sister, Jenny, today, is that I wanted something good to come from that horrific event. I do. I And if we're willing to see it when it's in front of us, then something beautiful will come from every devastating happening in our world. And, to see a beautiful flower grow from the fertile ground where his body is, for example, there's beauty in that. There's opportunity in that. There is life in that. And so I'd just like to talk to you about that a little bit today. Nothing dies in vain. Always, life is cyclical. Things keep going. And an example would be a business failure, for example. A business just doesn't work out. It goes bankrupt, that I've created. And I know that there's opportunity and lessons in that. What did I learn from it? What will I do next time? Because there will be a next time. How will I do it differently? Who do I get involved and who don't I get involved? That type of thing. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Oh, never. Yeah, it's something that we have all experienced, and I'm glad that you brought this subject up. I mean, continue. I mean, I'm sitting here all ears.
Yeah. Um, well, you know, for example, marriages. If a marriage doesn't work out, or a relationship of any kind, there are lessons in it. And it doesn't have to be a terrible ending. It can be a mutual decision, because you've heard that saying, I'm sure: everything happens for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Well, sometimes
Mhm.
it is for a reason, and then you move on from it. And that happens with relationships mostly, is what when people bring that saying up. Or a season. Maybe it's for 10 years, maybe it's for 20 years, but that is a season. And then to be able to move on and to see the beautiful parts of that. What did I learn from it? How did I grow from it? You know, and then to remember the good times about it. It's not in vain. The
Mhm.
marriage wasn't in vain. Maybe there's children from the marriage, or the relationship. Uh, maybe it's a partnership and some beautiful things happened and other people gleaned good things from it, events or business opportunities, things like that. So I don't know, it's just an idea that I had. And I guess I didn't know where I was going with it, except that I felt like it had to be put out there today.
What I'm hearing you say is that when something that would be perceived as catastrophic, the the loss of a child, like what you went through, a relationship ending, bankruptcy, those are all very catastrophic events.
Mhm.
So what I'm hearing you say is if we can step out of that all consuming, the heaviness of that, and see it from a different perspective, then we can and process it differently as opposed to being only a trauma. That we can get something good for our higher good and our soul's evolution.
Yes, we can, but hopefully others can too. Hopefully good things come out of it. And the Bible uses this term tenfold.
Mm.
And in my experience in life, as long as the intention is good, that does happen. Good
Mhm.
things tenfold come from one catastrophe, as long as the intention is good. I think intention is a big part of this.
Intention is huge. It's huge in so many things. The healing process, intention is like 90% of it. So, what I'm gathering here is so you set that intention of basically seeing like the good in all of this. And then when you act upon that and allow that goodness, the life within the death, however you want to say it, that it has a ripple effect affecting other people in a positive way. So for example, when you see things differently about the death of your son, because it started with you're setting that intention, you're setting that example of whatever it may be that you're doing to honor the life of your son, other people will have the opportunity to enhance their life because of what you started. Their life can be better. Their life can maybe be easier in some way.
Yes, I definitely put that hope out there for that. Uh, and the reality of it is, none of us get to stay in this body on this earth. Not forever, not for
Mhm.
long, actually. Um, so it is a reality. And my hope for when my body is no more, and my soul moves on, that good comes from that as well. I mean, I think we all hope that. We don't want at least a good person
Mhm.
with, good intentions for the rest of the world hopes that,
Mhm.
what good will come from that. That's why we buy life insurance, things like that. It's like, some good can come from that, and lessons learned, that type of thing.
Mhm.
Yes. Also, to be open to see the opportunities, to see the goodness, to see the messages when a catastrophe happens. And to do that, we have to leave the emotions behind. And like you said, step out of it. Just take one step out of the whirlwind, the tornado, and the confusion of the loss, whatever it is. Step out, just one step, and look at it differently. And that's taking the emotion out of it. Not easy to do, but it can be done. So, I just think that it's a growth opportunity for all of us to start practicing that. So, for example, if I burn the dinner because I walked into the other room and I got distracted, which, by the way, happens a lot with me. An old relationship, a friend, his name was Rod. He used to say I should start a cooking show called Cooking from the Other Room because the smoke alarm was always going off.
Huh.
Um, because I have this tendency to think I should multitask at all times. Well, not when you're cooking a meal. You should probably pay attention to what's on the top of the stove. When that happens, okay, well, what's the opportunity here? Well, maybe it's creativity. Out of necessity comes creativity. Maybe you can salvage part of it, maybe not. Then, whatever you plan for dinner probably isn't going to work out unless you bought two of everything. Which might be an opportunity too. There's something that I burn often, which is sliced almonds. I try to toast them, and I always freaking burn them because I walk out of the room. Anyway, right now I buy 2 bags just in case. So the opportunity would be, creativity. Lots of times is born out of necessity. When things get burned, then okay, what's play chopped kitchen, what's in the refrigerator to make for dinner? That's just one example of a small catastrophe. But I believe that in everything that dies, something good does come from that. It does, if we're willing to see it.
Yeah.
And when we're in grief, it's easy to allow that to consume us and stay in the negative part of that, which is hard to not do that. It feels like we're trained to do that. When something goes wrong, we're trained to be angry or upset or grieve or sad, it feels like our society sort of trains us to do that, and it becomes a habit. And we think that's how we're supposed to react.
Yeah.
It's natural too, but not stay in that. To be able to pull yourself out and once again step out and look for the good, whatever that is. Look for the good, whether it's an opportunity, growth, just whatever. Something beautiful always comes from everything. In my experience so far in life, and this book that I'm writing might be part of that. I know there's more though. I know there's more. There's just more things, as long as I'm willing to see that, are there.
Yeah, you're right. And whatever happens in life, it is all a matter of perception of what glasses we're wearing at the time. And it can be easier said than done to step out of the emotion. So, what would you say to somebody who's listening and saying, Dawn, I understand what you're saying to step out of the emotion, but I feel so swallowed up, drowning in the emotion. How do I step out of this pain? How can I possibly do it? What would you tell them?
First of all, breathe. Start with the most basic thing, because when it's that devastating, we only have so much bandwidth. And something very simple as realizing that you're breathing, just feeling yourself breathe, just be present in that, and to stay in that for a while. Just sit and breathe, understanding that that's a gift. And like I said to Josh, when he was sick, breath is life.
Yeah.
To be able to breathe, it's like, wow, there is fresh air, there's oxygen. Thank you for that. So then once you realize you have something to be thankful for, then to acknowledge it, which is gratitude.
Yeah.
Practice for what is. And then to start expanding that slowly. Okay, I'm also grateful for this home that I'm sitting in. Like I have a home. I have a roof over my head. I have electricity, thank God, because it's 110 in Phoenix right now. And gratitude for simple things. And it's a practice that I know we talk about a lot, but it is the beginning of everything good. To be grateful for what is presently. So that's the first step. from there, understanding that life goes on and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like life is happening around me, but I'm not, moving. I'm just stagnant. But realizing that you are here for a reason, still here for a reason. And this is your life, it's your bubble, and you are important. I remember my cousin called me after my son passed away, and I don't get to see him very often. He lived in other countries. He was in the Air Force or in the Marines. And he called me to extend sympathy, and he said he didn't know what to say. And that's, there is no right thing to say, right? Although at the very end of the phone call, he said this to me. He said, "Take care of yourself, Dawn. We need you." And I said, "You just said the right thing." He said, to understand that you're important. You are the only you that there is. The only you that there ever will be that's uniquely you in this body at this time. So to be needed means you're important. Yes. So I would say start there. Breathe, gratitude, understand you're important, and then do some self-love. Take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a walk.
Right.
It can be meditation. It can be journaling. If you don't have a journal, grab something else to write on. Self-love, self-care. We have to start with ourselves and get centered in who we are. Everything good comes from that. Knowing, yes, knowing your worth. Yes.
Yeah.
So if it's a divorce or a breakup of a relationship or a bad ending to a friendship or bankruptcy, whatever it might be, burning the sliced almonds, get centered, breathe, know yourself, love yourself, give yourself a break. I mean, when I burn the almonds, I could be like, and I've done it before, just cuss to myself, like, what's wrong with you? You knew better, blah, blah, blah. Or you can go, oh, it's a good thing that you thought of buying 2 packages. Good job, Dawn. It could just be that. So there's my answer.
Oh, that's a lovely answer. It's a very empowering answer. Yeah. So thank you for sharing your insights. If you don't mind, I'll just add like a couple thoughts on that too, that I have found to be really helpful about emotions. But before I do that, I'm just going to say just a little coaching tip, just something to think about. This is something I do for myself. And when my dad was still living at home, I tried to empower him to do the same thing, is if you leave the room when you're cooking, set the kitchen timer.
Good idea.
Because it's so easy to forget. So yeah, just some thoughts on if it feels incredibly too overwhelming to get out of the emotion. Sometimes it can be too hard to get out of the emotion because we're resisting what we're feeling. And what I found is if you just give yourself permission to feel what it is that you're feeling and call the emotion out by name. Oh, this is grief that I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling grief in my chest. I'm feeling my chest. It feels like it's being shut down, it's being squeezed. I acknowledge this. And I love what you said about the breathing, because when we do get in these trauma situations, we do forget to breathe, or we do the very shallow breathing. And like you said, breath is life, and we have to continue breathing. Sometimes we just take life one breath at a time. So if you give yourself permission just to feel that emotion, it's amazing how quickly it can shift out of you, as long as you give it permission. And like you mentioned early, the intention, that is so powerful, such an powerful statement of intention, of giving yourself permission, setting the intention. You're going to feel these emotions, let them go, and then you can move forward. And then when you are able to, like you were saying, step out of the emotion, you do get to see things from a different perspective instead of, I mean, what a fantastic gift that you're giving yourself. Instead of seeing things 101 million% just total doom and gloom and a disaster, of having that higher perspective, more from the mountain view rather than the valley view of yeah, and I can only imagine how challenging it has been of a process to start seeing the life, the possibilities, the opportunities within the passing of your son, just seeing that from a more expansive perspective. But any of these life events is such an opportunity that yeah, we get to choose. And what a great insight, Dawn, that you shared with everyone here, that you can't, that life, nothing dies. I mean, how freeing is that?
It is freeing. Um, it does help as a grieving mother to know that.
Mm-hmm.
And the messages that I'm receiving, I know are from him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't come from me, they came from somewhere. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I give him credit for it. I just do. And also knowing that once knowing that things live on in one way or another, or they give life to other things,
Mm-hmm.
what a great knowledge of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
but who. So I know that if it's true for him, it's true for me.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize the impact that we have on this world when something like that happens. That's another big lesson that I've learned from all this is the understanding of every word we say, every move we make, every expression that we have impacts this world.
Yes.
I think about him every day, things he did, things he said, how he acted, what he loved, what he hated,
Mm-hmm.
like the foods he hated, the foods that he loved. Every day, all day long. In fact, I'm just keeping a record in a book of that now because I constantly am talking about it like out loud. Like Josh loved that, Josh hated that, blah, 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 blah. I want that to be remembered because it made an impact. Even if it's just a tiny little ripple, those ripples grow as they go out into the world. So everything that we do makes an effect on the world. So that's another sort of lesson from all of this is when something catastrophic happens, to be able to see the bigger picture, I think is imperative to survive it,
Mm-hmm.
to actually survive it. Because honestly, when I think about if I didn't look at that, how ugly would that be? What kind of a human would I be if I think, oh, that it would be very narcissistic to think that, okay, now, I'm just going to wither away because I have nothing more to give. Well, that's not true. And that's not the right thing to do for the world. We should continue to give, even when something bad happens to us. That's what we're here for, to make a positive impact on others' lives and on this world. As does a tree when it dies in the forest, it becomes, shelter for small animals. It becomes, a place for mushrooms to grow in. It becomes fertilizer for new baby trees. Whatever, it's something good comes from everything that dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a sort of a epiphany that I had today. And I'd like to, I'll probably be writing about it. I'll definitely be journaling about it some more. And if any of you have thoughts on that are listening or that are watching on YouTube, please put it in the comments below. I'd like to hear what you think. And if you disagree, please feel free to disagree. I'd like to hear the perspectives on it because that's how I will grow. That's how we will grow as well. All of us can. So having a discussion is a good thing. Do you see any downside to that? thought, Wendy?
Any downside to being more positive and optimistic about life? Not in the moment. No. And back to what you were talking about with the ripple effect. There's so much negativity in the world. I mean, just how beautiful is it when you can look at something from a more positive perspective and you're sending out more positivity into the world? I mean, that is just in my opinion, that is just a beautiful gift. I have heard other perspectives on this, that there is no silver lining in something. And that is something that I prefer, at least at this point in my life, I prefer to view life the way you are, that things don't die, that there is something really good that comes from everything. Something else that helps me when things like this happen is to remember that we are a soul having a human experience. So we are not the grief. We are not the divorce. We are not the bankruptcy. We are we are a bright being of light who is just having these experiences and these emotions. And we do get to reach a point in our personal evolution that we don't have to be engulfed in all of that suffering anymore.
Yes. Yes, that is definitely something to remember on a daily. In fact, I think I'm going to write that down as part of my morning affirmations to remind myself of that I am a soul, I am a spirit having a human experience today. And, how exciting is that?
Mhm.
Like, what do I get to experience today? Right?
Yeah.
Knowing
Yeah.
that I'll take it with me wherever my true home is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And something that has been coming up for me a lot is the higher self. And
Mhm.
so when you're going through these situations, it can be really empowering to ask your higher self to view your experiences from a higher perspective,
Mhm.
as opposed from the wounded ego's perspective. Experience it, understand it from your higher self's perspective, which is like you're saying.
And that takes practice.
Yes, it does. It takes practice, it takes healing, it takes a remembering of who you really are.
Yeah, it
It,
does. Uh,
yeah.
Meditation has really helped me. And I think once during a meditation, one of the first times that I meditated actually was a guided meditation. Uh, there was an example of um, just sitting on the side of the road and watching your thoughts go by,
Mm,
like vehicles on a road. There was like a little cartoon, I think, that went with it. You could just watching them go by. And then I envisioned myself as my higher self. And because it's called higher self, I was like up above,
mhm,
looking down and
mhm,
seeing this me sitting in meditation,
mm.
watching myself practicing meditation. And it's like, that's pretty cool when you can actually separate that
Yeah.
in your mind and realize there is two of you. There's the higher's the conscious self, and then the sort of unconscious self that's
Mhm,
just experiences, like life experiences that live in your body. It's like those neural pathways that are dug in, that you keep reinforcing constantly in your belief system. All that is separate from your thinking and from your knowing, not your thinking, but your knowing self, your higher
mhm.
self.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very heady, I realize that, but it's something that we all need to know. We all should know about who we are
Mhm. Yeah.
so that we can rise above catastrophes in our life.
Yeah.
Even the burnt sliced almonds, catastrophe. Rise above it. No,
Mm.
maybe they'll be good fertilizer. Put them in the compost bin, which we all should have a compost bin. And I'm working on getting one. So,
Mm.
so that good things come, you know. I don't want to end up in a landfill somewhere. I want like flowers to grow wherever my ashes are. So,
Beautiful.
yeah. Deep thoughts by Dawn today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your deep thoughts. It's really good to have segments where we just have these contemplative moments and just do some really fun, deeper self exploration and asking yourself some really powerful questions. How would you rather be?
Mhm.
Would you rather be stuck in the suffering self or the higher self and seeing that things really don't die, things do bloom, even in what appears to be the greatest tragedy in the moment?
Yeah. It is about who we decide to be. It's a decision. It's just that
Yeah.
simple.
It really is. And we make it so stinking complicated, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. So part of the process is shedding how we've been trained,
Hmm.
what we've been trained, how we've viewed others, whether it be, actors or real life people, um, that we have thought that we have to be like. Sometimes I find myself just letting myself dive into that grieving mother mode that I've seen, in the world. And I catch myself and I'm like, I have more to be.
Mm.
I can't just stay there. It's nothing good about it. There's just nothing good about it. There's other people that, like my cousin told me,
Hmm.
need my energy to be up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just help them, it helps me.
You're right. Right.
It helps me. So yeah, we do have more to be. And as you know, that's what I like to say.
Yeah.
Be.
Yeah. Well, just for the record, I need you too. So
Ah, ditto, sister.
thank
And we need all of you out there. And we really
yes.
appreciate you listening today to this concept that we've been discussing here. And this will dim your light, losing something, whether it's a relationship, a person, a business, money, whatever it is, um, will dim our light if we let it. So if you're ready to do something about it, take some action, start vibrating higher, find some joy in the moment, breathe, all those things that we talked about today. And Wendy, I really appreciate your expertise, your amazing insight as a coach through this concept and talking to me about it. It really helps me get a little more clear on it as well.
Well, thank you, Dawn. I appreciate you and all of your expertise as well. I just had a thought before we wrap up really quick. I've heard many stories of people that have gotten cancer.
Mhm.
And as you know, cancer is like one of the scariest diagnoses that you can get. And these are people that survived it. Um, and they have said cancer was the best thing that happened to them.
Wow.
So here was a catastrophe, but they learned who they were through the process.
Mhm.
And what a fantastic way of viewing a very scary, potentially deadly experience to go within and discover who you really are.
And I mean, that's sort of a life mission,
Yeah.
is to discover that purpose, that who you are.
Yeah. And really start living. You have a death, you have a divorce, you have a bankruptcy, you have a health crisis. It's all can be viewed as a wake up call to really start living.
Awesome. That is such a wonderful addition to this talk that we're having today. That is the truth. So what is that wake up call for you out there that's listening? What
Mm.
is it? What are you going through that's been catastrophic? What can you glean from that? What have you learned?
Yeah.
And where are you going to go next? And who, as you said, Wendy, who are you being?
Yes.
Decide now in this moment. I love that.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm so glad that you brought this topic up. Thank you for that, Dawn.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Well, we want to thank all of you again out there listening and watching on YouTube. Feel free to comment below. We would love your insight. Would love to start a discussion. Also, share this video and or this podcast link with friends or somebody that you think would enjoy listening to it, that might have some insight on it. Or if it's made you mad, send it to somebody else that will agree with you. But do share. And would you please subscribe? It would be wonderful if you would. It really helps us grow this and grow our audience. So please subscribe. And we will see you next time on Lightweavings Podcast.
Yes. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.